You may not even have known the budget was going to happen last week. It's often boring and often ignored by most of the public, but that's not because it's boring. It's actually really important. It's just that a lot of us in the everyday South African life just don't know enough about it. But we do know that it was postponed last week after maximum drama. And so, as always on this show, we've invited in an expert to explain to us what is going on before we get ready for the next budget that is probably going to happen on the 12th of March. So let's get into it. And as always, we have invited someone on the show tonight who I'm just a massive fan on. She is absolutely phenomenal. She's the right person to speak about this exactly. She is on the steering committee for the Budget Justice Coalition. Please make some noise for the wonderful superstar who is Matshidiso Lencoasa is here. On this show, the smart people get claps. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Start at the start. What is the Budget Justice Coalition? I think a lot of people may not have even heard of it before.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. I've always wanted to be part of the live audience, so very happy to be here. So the Budget Justice Coalition is really just a group of human rights organizations. Like, I'm from Section 27, but you get Youth Capital, you get Equal Education, you get the Institute of Economic Justice, and we just came together because we realized that, you know, everyone, like, it's our money, like everybody pays taxes, and yet for some reason that money doesn't actually go to people, and it just seems that, you know, the budget is something that is imposed on us and as a country, as though we don't have the right to say, like, how should our money be spent? And so we just came together with the intention to just get as many people in the country to be a part of it so that we can have a budget for the people, by the people. I see. That's amazing. Okay, so the budget was supposed to happen last week. It didn't. Mainly, like, it's been kind of reduced to about the 2% VAT increase that they were going to try and push through. The finance minister was going to try and push through, and ultimately never happened. But we do also know what else he was going to say in that speech and what other plans he had for expenditure and taxation. So just give us a little executive summary, a little Spark Notes, a little ChatGPT of, no, not ChatGPT, but give us a little perspective of what the coalition and you within the steering committee of the coalition thought of the budget we were supposed to get. We were so disappointed in that budget. So before the budget actually is announced, the budget speech, some people can be part of the lockup, so we're embargoed and we get access to the documents. And when I was with my colleagues and we just opened the budget documents, we saw the VAT 2% increase. We just, you know, my heart just dropped because I knew that, you know, in this country, life is so hard already, you know, like poverty is on the rise, the cost of living, like prices are already up. So how can we possibly, you know, it feels like we're already overtaxed. Like, what more could we do, especially in a country where so many young people are still struggling to find work? So really, overall, we were just quite disappointed with the budget. And then what made it really worse was when we saw the press conference with the minister, and he was actually asked, did you consult the people of this country before making such decisions? And the view was, I think the answer was, we can't have rallies all across the country. And that was just so disappointing for us. But I think, you know, the budget is considered something that is a little bit boring, a little bit for the nerds, like us, some of us who wear glasses and everything. But I think that maybe this can be an opportunity for people in this country to actually have a say in what the budget is and, you know, what it represents, and just have a say and actually shape a budget that actually works for us all, so that we know, because we're the ones who use the services. So if you go to a clinic and you see that you have like one nurse among so many people that you have to share, one has to wonder, where did the money go? We've been hearing billions and billions that have been allocated, but is that money actually going back to the people who need it? And so, you know, just hoping that even though it is a disappointing time, we can actually use this as an opportunity to make the budget for all of us, you know. What kind of changes to the budget that we usually get by and large every single year would you be interested in making? Sure. So we would love to see a pro-poor human rights budget. So a budget that really works for the people of this country, that recognizes, you know, that unemployment is so high for young people. So what do we see? We should be looking at how can we grow our economy and invest in specific places that have a multiplier effect where we can get the most for our money. We know that there's so little money, so how can we get the most for it? We're looking forward to seeing things like investments in education, especially higher education, to make sure that, you know, now there are protests like young people at universities, and I myself started during the Fees Must Fall movement. And, it's just a pity that a decade later nothing has changed. So we would love to see something different there, a budget that reflects that they are taking this seriously, that they want to secure the futures of the people in this country rather than making us feel hopeless and that there is nothing. But I think above all, I would love to see more of a circus around the budget and to just see as many people as engaged in it and actually questioning, does that make sense? That they say that there's been billions to basic education. Are we actually seeing that? And so I just hope, we make submissions to Parliament, for example, and we just hope that, people don't feel so intimidated and realize that this is for the people,
So ultimately, the coalition is looking for a more pro-poor budget. The government will say, but we spend so much on basic education, we spend so much on healthcare, we spend so much on infrastructure. We are already creating or delivering on a pro-poor budget. What would you say to that?
We have so much money on health, for example, but we have doctors that are unemployed, that are sitting at home, and yet we also need doctors in clinics. So how does that make sense? For example, we have teachers that are unemployed and sitting at home, and when you ask the departments, they say, well, it's because we don't have enough money. There are budget cuts. And so we're really yes, things look a certain way. We can judge the rhetoric of people, but we really need to judge people by the fruits of what they're saying, not just what they say is happening, but actually what we're experiencing. And we're really hoping for a budget that marries the two. So this is the budget allocations, the billions, but also this is our lived experience. How can we make sure that money feeds to the people in this country? And I think that one of the problems that we have in this country, I'm sure everybody has spoken about, is corruption, because we know that there are billions that are allocated, but are those billions actually reaching the people in this country? Well, you'd have to ask the people in this country before doing that. And I think proposing a VAT increase of 2%, for example, was an example of they actually hadn't spoken to the people in this country.
Yeah, so that's exactly the thing, right? Is like the government says we need more money. They've got 60 billion rand missing from their budget for the coming year. They wanted to cover that with a 2% increase on value-added tax. And what some people have said, like the SARS Commissioner, Edward Kieswetter, has essentially said, well, if you just gave us, SARS, way more money, there's over 400 billion rands worth of tax-evaded money that we can go and get. That is way more than the 60 billion if you just enabled us to go and pursue these tax evaders. Other people are saying, well, 60 billion sounds quite small considering how much money has been looted from the government. But the fact of the matter is they need 60 billion more rand for this coming year to do all their projects. They need to get it from somewhere, or they need to cut from certain parts of the budget. What way besides 2% VAT do you think that they could achieve this? Should they just cut the budget, make it smaller, or find 60 billion somewhere else?
Sure. So definitely they can find 60 billion somewhere else, because when it comes to VAT, I think the SARS Commissioner actually acknowledged that the first VAT increase in 2017, 2018 didn't actually raise the money that they expected. And it makes sense because prices go up, so people don't participate in the economy as much because we're like, well, things are too expensive.
And so
we spend less, and so our economy doesn't grow at the same rate. And so our alternatives, with the Budget Justice Coalition, there's some really smart people who've been making economic models and researching like what alternatives do we have. And one example is the Gold Foreign Exchange Fund, which is called JFECRA, which sounds like a swear word as I'm saying it, but I really do. The Budget Justice Coalition is going to be hosting webinars where people actually explain where the money comes from. So that's one example that can raise, that can give somewhat of a bailout for the people for social services. Another example is, we're looking at more targeted VAT, because VAT, yes, there are zero-rated goods that are extended, but we've found that or studies have found that it's not so effective. And so there could be VAT on like luxury goods. People have been speaking, I know it's a bit controversial, but a wealth tax, for example.
No, speak more about that. That was my next question.
Sure.
That was my literal next question.
Sure.
Talk to me about a wealth tax.
Yeah, so we explored more in our dialogue. So I really urge people to follow the Budget Justice Coalition's Twitter page, or to follow Youth Capital, because we will be unpacking it a lot more. But really what it is saying that, as the SARS Commissioner is saying, that there are people in this country and corporations who think that they're above the law and they don't pay their fair share of taxes. They can avoid, because they have so much power, because they have so much money. We see them on social media. We're like, how do you afford afford all these cars? How do you afford all of this? And that's because we're paying tax on their behalf. And so if we can invest in our SARS, like our tax collection, our revenue collection, to make it really strong so that we can actually find ways to hold people accountable to pay tax and make sure that that money doesn't leave the country. That in itself is a form of a wealth tax, getting the ultra wealthy to pay, to pay tax. And then, that's like the foundation of it. But there are many other ways, like a luxury VAT that targets specifically luxury goods in this country that could actually raise some funds for the people, just to fund social spending.
You know what they drive and what they wear? Do you think that they would ever go for that?
And that's what, we need to bring back the ownership, because if they don't allow it, it's them not allowing it on our money. Like they should be asking us for permission of like, can we continue to live this lifestyle while all of this? But instead, it is that they're imposing on us that this is how it is. It will never work. It will never do that. But really, it can work. We just need a budget. That's why, we feel so passionate about getting people to come in and participate and say, you know what, I pay VAT, I pay income tax, I pay tax on all of this. I want to see that money not going on Instagram. I open Instagram and I see the latest baddie or whoever. Like, you can see the proceeds from that. But I would love to see that money actually going towards investing in youth unemployment programs so that we can hire more teachers, so we can hire young people and secure young people's futures.
Man, that's so good. Please, round of applause for this fabulous Matshidiso Lencoasa, the steering committee of the Budget Justice Coalition. Last time, where can people get involved as like everyday, ordinary, normal citizens to actually contribute to the budget?
Please reach out to us on the Budget Justice Coalition's Twitter page, the Budget Justice SA, but also if you're familiar, or should I say X, my bad, I'm a little
No, the dark place formerly known as Twitter.
Formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter. But yeah, we can also like our Facebook page, but also just one of our organizations. So either being Section 27 or Youth Capital, just reach out to us, because we would love to work together so that we can show these parliamentarians that, our voices matter, and it has to be the people of this country who make those decisions.
Good. Thank you so very much.